Hi everyone, thank you very much for stopping by and returning to the old world. Today, decision making time. Another tournament is on the horizon, but what will I end up taking? So the event we're talking about here is one that's going to be hosted by Brighton Warlords in Brighton on the south coast of the UK, and it's going to be in early November. So I've got around 3 months to prepare an army and work out what I want to take. Theoretically, this means that I've got quite a bit of time to do painting, so I can steer away from my trusted empire if that's what I want to do. Unfortunately, however, all is not quite as it seems. There's a few things going on which are going to restrict the amount of time I've got to put paint to model. Firstly, here in the UK, it's summer and we finally had some good weather after what seems like months of dreary rain and lower temperatures than normal. So when I do have some spare time, particularly at the weekends, I do want to be outside. I want to be able to enjoy the weather and actually make the best of what little summer we actually are going to get this year. I've also got some other things going on and some major changes that are taking place at the moment that are going to take time up and mean I'm going to have less time, less energy to dedicate to wargaming, particularly as I don't want my other hobbies to fall by the wayside. So, looking forward to November and understanding that realistically I'm going to have a very limited amount of time to paint new models, I've got a decision to make about what force I want to take so that I can build towards that. What are the options? Well, first and foremost, there is the trusty men of the Empire. I had wanted to put them to one side and to focus on new projects for the second part of the year. However, I know that I've got a 2,000 point force ready to go. I know its strengths, I know its weaknesses, of which there are quite frankly many. But it's a force that I can carry on bringing to the table down at the club. It's going to be very easy to bring that continuity to the game and not have to worry too much about painting lots of extra stuff, which would allow me to spend my painting time focusing on my orcs and goblins, which are the current projects I've got on the desk. So overall advantages, the army's ready to go. I know how to use the army. I've got a reasonable amount of experience with it. However, I know it's quite swingy. Looking at the missions, it's going to be the same missions, I think, as the event I went to in Lancing. So we've got the standard battle. We've got the mountain pass, which I think does lean into favouring the Empire list I was using. But it's also got the break test one where it really doesn't support that Empire force because your enemy can just start that much closer. Option 2. Option 2 is the orcs and goblins. Quite frankly, there is no way this force will be ready in time. At the time of recording, I've managed to paint up 5 orc ball boys, and I'm currently working my way through another 4 mounted orcs. So 4 of them will be ball boys, and 1 of them will be a BSB. There's no way on earth I'm going to be able to field a decently strong orc list by November. It's simply too big of an ask. Option number 3, the dwarves. Now I do have quite a few dwarves already painted up. I've not really used them yet, and I don't have any of the iron drakes, so I would need a couple of units of those, I think, because they seem to be a fairly much an automatic pick. I haven't been able to get hold of an arcane journal, however, as is traditional. I was busy on the Saturday it came up for pre-order, so I've missed out, and it seems that these, like all the other arcane journals, are going to be rarer than hen's teeth for quite a while. So getting hold of the relevant book and being able to read through stuff and fully understanding and appreciating what I want to do with it, that's going to be tricky. I've not had sight of the rules around the Bugman carts either, so that would be something I would want to explore because it sounds like it could actually offer quite a nice little element of shenanigans to a dwarf army, particularly a more aggressive combat force. However, from what I've seen so far, the dwarf armies do seem to struggle, and they do seem to have to really play into a single super strength, which they're not always the best at. So thoughts on a postcard or in the comments down below on whether you think dwarves would be viable as an option, and as a bare minimum, what sort of units you'd expect to see in that force. So you'll have hopefully seen a video I did previously which shows everything I've got painted, and I will put a link to that, if I remember, up in the top corner now. Option 4, which is a bit left field, Warriors of Chaos. So back in the day I did have a Warrior of Chaos force, and yes, they are painted, they're a bit beaten up and battered and would require rebasing. However, it is something that I could look to take forward. There's some major downsides to this, however. This is a very old force, and when I floated it in one of the discords I'm in, the sort of force that I could put together, with the caveat I'm not going to have time to paint many models. I might be able to do an extra unit, maybe 2 units if I'm lucky, but fundamentally this is the core of what I've got. The advice was basically rip up the list and you need a whole new set of models. So I would have been looking at a force based around a couple of warrior blocks, a couple of wizards, some chaos chosen knights, and it looked very much like I needed to get in a load of extra chaff. Something on a dragon would have been useful, dragon ogres to fill out some special to give me some single model drops, etc, etc. All of which rather defeats the point of not adding much to my existing force, because rebasing them would be a sufficient pain in the backside as it was. So fundamentally I think this does leave me with a choice of taking the good old forces of the Empire and my halflings marching to war once again, despite the fact that as the meta's developed I've got more and more aware of their pretty overwhelming weaknesses, if I'm being honest. Or of course there's the dwarves, a force I've not used. Well, I've had one game with the dwarves, so there'd be a lot of learning to be done. Now, if anyone's got any bright ideas regarding what I could do with these forces, maybe to spice things up a little bit, and I know the forces of the Empire, a lesson I've learned is pack in the Ruby Ring of Ruin somewhere, so that's definitely a change I would make. But yeah, do let me know in the comments down below if you've got any thoughts around this particular conundrum. And thank you very much in advance for any comments that you do make. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for listening as I talked through the question that I'm going to be seeking to answer over the next few weeks. If you've enjoyed this video and perhaps others like it from the back catalogue, do consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like. It is the best way of supporting a channel such as this one. Once again, thank you very much for listening. I am returned to the old world. Have a great day.